You want to master the elusive work-life balance, right? I mean, don't we all? In the times that you're feeling overwhelmed at work and in your personal life, how many books, podcasts, YouTube videos have you gone through in the search for some secret method that's finally going to help you give back a feeling of control and mastery over your own life? I've never found the answer in one book or system or video to date. Instead, the one key thing that's helped me up level as a thinker and doer, and that we're going to apply through this video to help you activate new levels of work-life balance, is first principle based approaches. I've learned this way of viewing the world from various CEOs, entrepreneurs, and business mentors that I've worked with. And in my own life, I've started bringing everything back to first principles. Here's the thing. None of us want to rot away in our cubicles as we watch our lives and years go by through the screen. Yet, many of us, if not all of us, must work. And so work-life balance is one of the key solutions. But in this video, instead of giving you disparate, disjointed tips, I'm going to give you the foundational framework based on first principles. Starting with this framework and a ground level fundamental approach will help you then integrate every other future tip or method that you hear about work-life balance into your own life better. Work-life balance is something that we all deal with, even if that work is something that we love and are so passionate about. Even if your work is fully creative, there's still work-life balance there. I work with a lot of creators and life gets even more hectic sometimes when you're on your own schedule. I've spent years experimentally researching in my own life and decades journaling and reflecting to help find the perfect balance mechanisms. Let's get right into the first principles to help you Jedi your work-life balance once and for all. And then I'll give you examples of how people, myself included, are actually applying some of these first principles that I've compiled. So make sure you watch until the end. The first principle is balance, and this is in the concept of work-life balance for a reason. Balance is technically biomechanics, but I'm going to talk about it through the economics lens that I studied in college. Balance is a state of equilibrium in which the forward rate of reaction is equal to the reverse rate of reaction. Basically, this means that in balance, there is both tension and motion. Balance sounds passive, but you can equally view it as active. How does this apply to work-life balance? When I was younger, I used to think of work-life balance as an end state, a perfect static equilibrium, a singular point. But as I studied economics, and for anyone studying mechanics as well, there are many theoretical models of stable equilibrium and unstable equilibrium. As I started working more and experimenting, I realized that work-life balance is more of an unstable equilibrium, something that is always mechanically and actively being balanced, not a stable, static point of equilibrium. Work-life balance means it's going to take work and there's never going to be a perfect stable equilibrium. We must accept this inherently as a first principle of work-life balance. Unstable equilibriums are much more what we see in the real natural human world too, where chaos plays a factor. So this principle is that you will never have a perfect chug and play formula for work-life balance that works for you throughout your entire life at any point in time. It is inherently a balancing act, and it will inherently take effort. And this is the first principle that I found in work-life balance. And feel free to leave me a comment with your thoughts or experience around this. Second is the first principle of trade-offs and opportunity costs. Also something that I learned in economics. And you can probably easily see how this applies to work-life balance. We are fundamentally playing a human game, one where we have limitations and constraints on all of our resources in life, including time, energy, and money. We have 12 to 18 waking hours a day, including the hours that we allocate to work. The first principle of trade-offs is that when you are choosing one thing, you are at the same time choosing against another thing. When you invest time in one thing, you are taking time away from something else. If this is giving you anxiety, it's okay. I went through the same thing when I was studying economics and realizing these truths about the world. In the rest of the video, I'm going to give you realistic but still expansive tips and approaches. So even if you feel yourself contracting and stressing right now, being reminded of trade-offs and the constraints, I'm going to soon get into tips of how we can realistically but still expansively apply these principles in our lives. I'm the kind of person where sometimes I'm delusional and I literally just want everything. I want all the ideals and beautiful parts of life all the time. So I'm a great person to give you advice on the harsh nature of trade-offs when it comes to your work-life balance. I also have plenty of videos on my channel about liberation and living freely from the heart on my channel, so you can explore those too for extra inspiration. The last fundamental first principle that I observe in work-life balance, and this one just gets freakier, is entropy. I'll explain this last one quickly, which is often overlooked, and then I'll go into the practical applications to leave this video on a higher note. Entropy, the second law of thermodynamics, we can also see how this plays out in work-life balance. Entropy applied to living phenomena with some liberal definition on my end is that when we do not grow, we die. And even as we grow, we are decaying and dying. This is natural law, the second law of thermodynamics applied to humans. I know that you inherently know this, even though sometimes we feel that we are invincible and tend to forget these harsher truths about life. But remember this first principle always: what we do not actively refine and grow decays. Okay, deep breath. Now I'm going to give you concrete examples of each of these first principles, starting with entropy because that one sounds the scariest and most fatalistic. And by the way, I'm making a follow-up video with 5 practical tips to Jedi your work-life balance, so check that out too if you're looking for more practical application. So how do we apply entropy to work-life balance so that we are not rotting away in our cubicles? There's 2 parts to this. The first part is to minimize harms. I'm glad we're all aware of this, but sitting for 8 to 10 hours at your desk staring at multiple screens is just not good for your health. Entropy is also a fact of aging. With this, make sure you're minimizing harms on your body to achieve sustainable work-life balance. For example, I love to work in weird positions and it's not ergonomic if I also didn't have a monitor until I turned 25, which is just crazy to me now. But basically, one of the practical tips to combat entropy is to have an ergonomic setup that works with the needs of your body and your habits. One thing that I sometimes advise to the people that I work with as a coach is to get browser extensions or find other hacks on the internet to minimize repetitive motions. Get blue light glasses. Get better at your work in here so that you spend less time doing it here. Expand your brain to easily solve bigger problems without expending more effort or time. When you are able to generate more value with the same effort and still maintain your limits, you are creating time. You are basically giving yourself time and energy back to grow. And this brings me to the second part, and this brings me to the second practical application of combating entropy, which is to grow and expand. Accelerate to offset the natural rate of human deceleration. This applies beyond just your technical career skills, but also to your heart, mind, and soul. I get it, because sometimes when we're busy and incredibly overwhelmed, and I've been there many, many times myself, we tend to want to shrink away and protect ourselves. We tend to want to set limits and do less. But try this counterintuitive Jedi tip that works for me. We're at a given time usually only utilizing a portion of our brain's capability. So try to grow more, learn more, squeeze that minute more, say yes, and I'll share some practical applications for the next first principle around trade-offs and opportunity costs. This is something I just see play out a lot in the Bay Area where people are working high-paid tech jobs. What do you do when you have trade-offs and just can't do everything all at once? You prioritize your seasons based on what makes sense and what will give you the highest returns chronologically. Maybe for one period and distinct season, you put the gas pedal on work and take some time away from your hobbies. Maybe this season you go all in more on up-leveling your fitness and health game while deprioritizing, let's say, up-leveling or training for more career skills. We can have it all, and I truly believe this, just not all at once. Tough pill to swallow, I know, because I'm the kind of person that tries to do everything all the time. Make a plan that factors in your trade-offs and opportunity costs, and go at it with peace. How do you apply balance and remembrance of the eternal balance of life as a first principle? Achieve balance by remembering that the force of balance is always present. Work with it. Keeping your mind like water, which is an Eastern and Taoist principle. Be adaptable so that you do not break in trying to be perfect. The equivalent of breaking in work-life balance is burnout, which we can talk about in a separate video. Avoid burnout by being in the flow, by constantly maintaining balance. And remember, balance requires an active effort. You achieve liberation by remembering that everything is constantly in motion, including yourself. Trying to constrain or contain every little detail all the time is a futile effort of the ego. Oh, and the last practical application is to go and watch my video on how to be eternally balanced in your life. Would love to hear your thoughts or any questions, so you can always leave a comment down below or DM me. Now go out there and Jedi your work-life balance. Subscribe and I'll see you soon.